So before we start, just tell us a bit about yourself, like who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm Chris Brooks, and I'm a working guitar player out here in the west of Sydney. I'm an educator and mentoring guitar players, and also an independent artist doing my instrumental guitar music, YouTube, the usual online presence kind of stuff. Just working player, really. Yeah.
Sweet. And how did you get started in guitar playing?
I started when I was about 12 or 13. I saw, I'd taken some guitar lessons when I was 8 and it didn't really gel. And a few years later I saw an amazing Aussie guitar player called Brett Garsed. You probably hear his name regularly in guitar circles. He's the guy, and it made me pull the guitar out from under the bed and dust it off and bug my parents for an electric until they would buy me one of those. And once I figured out you could actually make a living out of it, like my dad didn't go to regular jobs like other people's dads because he was a working drummer and he was gone at night and he'd be gone for a couple of weeks on tour and stuff like that. Once it sort of clicked that was a job, that's what I figured I wanted to do,
So did your dad also sort of inspire you to go the musical direction?
I think I probably didn't have a choice. Yeah, it was kind of like they never pushed me. My parents never pushed me, but it was kind of, it's the family business. My brother's a musician as well, and yeah, it's what we do.
All right, awesome. And on your website it says you worked with Mark Bowles, who sang with Yngwie.
Yeah, Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
How was that?
That was awesome. It was one of the first sort of experiences with working with musicians on the other side of the world, not actually being, because internet speeds weren't even that good back then. So it was like we were still using FedEx to send each other backing tracks and things like that. So you did it
online, so like via Skype or?
No, there wasn't even Skype. This is like in 2002. So the internet was still, just getting its speed up really. So I knew him, I knew Mark through some other associations, and he'd heard my first CD, which had come out like the year earlier or something, and so he asked me to write a track, and so we were sending a couple of files, like small files back and forth over the web, but then most of it was actually like sending me drum tracks through, snail mail and courier and stuff like that, and
Wow, so how did it all come together then, if it was overseas?
Well, basically I wrote the song that we did, and I sent it to him, and I sent a click track over, and the drummer Vinny, who was from Dio and Black Sabbath and some other bands, he was the drummer.
Oh, wow.
Vinny Appice, and he laid down the drums, and then they sent me the drum tracks, which would be like the final drum tracks from the album, and I laid down all my guitars and then sent that all back, and then that all gets put back in the mix, and
wow,
with everything else.
Sounds like really complex.
Yeah, it was kind of like, that's like the done thing these days now. It's like you can hire a drummer from somewhere and a bass player from somewhere else and not even get to know each other. But back then it was sort of a new thing, Yeah.
And how was Mark? Did you use?
He's awesome. Like I spent a bit of time, on a personal level. Like we when he was the singer with Yngwie, he took me around to a bunch of shows in Japan. This is going back like early 2000s, and a really cool guy and awesome guy to work with, and it was just like real friendly experience all the way through. So
sounds like a mad experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And what are some of the artists that have shaped the way you play?
Besides Brett, I was really into the real melodic 80s kind of guitar solo stuff. So bands that had great guitar players like Europe, the song The Final Countdown, like that was like one of those oh my god moments, like wow, you can make music like that and you can play solos in a song on the radio like that, and then I started to get into more the instrumental players, Brett, Frank Gambale, Joey Tafoya, Yngwie Malmsteen as well, so it was kind of, that was a cool thing to tie that back in with working with one of Yngwie's band members, because he was a major influence. It's still in a way like an influence, so once I got past the listening to the radio and doing all that thing. Once my sort of music wasn't cool on the radio anymore, it was just head down, bum up in the instrumental stuff. So
what was it like creating the master plan, and what does it mean to have your solo work out there?
That album, that was a bit of a life-changing thing, because even though it was just an independent release, but I created all the music myself, wrote all the arrangements, the drum parts, bass, keyboard, put it all in, played it all, programmed it all, engineered it all. I was sort of teaching myself how to make an album while I was making it. I'd never done anything like it. Didn't even know if what I was going to put out was going to be a demo or whether it was good enough to be called an album. But people just lapped it up. It just seemed to be the right thing at the right time. It was instrumental, but it wasn't like the 80s instrumentals. It was more like progressive rock. So people that were into Dream Theater and all their sort of offshoot projects were really big on it. And it sold like, I think it's sold over 6,000 copies now, which for an independent release,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty awesome. It's one of those things. It's almost like Steve Vai's Flexible album. Like that album still just generates revenue for him and ticks over. And it's the same thing for me. I still get people saying, "Man, I wanted to do instrumental guitars because of that album." I'm like, it's kind of weird because that's the thing I would have said to my heroes growing up. So.
How does that make you feel when they say that?
Old. No, weird. I try to not be pushed off balance by either really positive stuff or really negative stuff because I don't want either to really affect the way I approach it. Like if I really just soaked up all the praise for that album, all I'd want to do is just keep making that album over and over again. Be like Nickelback, just keep like, repeating the formula, just thinking that So I still go by my gut at the end of the day, but it was like still blows my mind when I see some of that. Sometimes I read old messages or Google the album just to see where it's out, and where people are saying about it, and it's awesome.
That's mad. So you did everything yourself, like
I did.
all the other instruments.
If you like it, it's all me. If you didn't like it, it's somebody else.
All right, that's good. And what are the trials you think of being a solo guitarist in today's music industry?
I think in realising that you have to diversify your income streams rather than just be an artist. Like to be a person that makes music isn't necessarily being the same as a person that makes money. So people that are in original bands, that are touring, 5 sweaty guys in a small van, sleeping on vans' floors and making pizza money. There's a golden opportunity maybe in your early 20s to kind of live that way, but after a while you have to start thinking, well, this piece of wood's got to pay for itself. So diversifying into teaching, if you can. I mean, if you can't, then get educated so you can start teaching. Teaching's a good thing. Session work, live gigs, bread and butter, covers gigs, playing for other people. Sort of doing all that, realising that between all of it, it's almost a living, you know what I mean? You still earn less than somebody working at the Commonwealth Bank, but which is what I used to do when I first left school. But
you're doing what you love. So
you're doing what you love, and there's another form of payment, more spiritual or more self-fulfilling, in that. So
awesome. So you studied at AIM?
I did a year there, many years ago. Had some amazing teachers there, like Guy Leclerc, Carl Orr, Dieter Kleeman, Ike Isaacs, who's no longer with us, but just awesome teachers in all fields. And I didn't get so much out of the curriculum as I did out of just hanging with those teachers and jamming with other players that were in the school. I think that was the most beneficial part, more so than the actual curriculum. So
awesome. And how do you feel about teaching? Enjoy teaching?
I love it. I actually feel like it's not just a bread and butter thing for me. I was doing a lot of covers gigs, like doing all the RSL circuit and all that stuff, playing moves like Jagger and Poker Face and everything else that you have to play in those kind of, Saturday night 2 a.m. gigs. But there's a certain indifference to, and some guys are really good at that, and me, I sort of felt a certain indifference to the people listening to it. Like they don't really care. I don't really feel like I'm making an impact, and it's not about getting a pat on the back, but I feel like with teaching, I feel like I can see change happening right in front of me. I can see someone get an idea or someone's mind get blown by, you can do that, you can put that there and twist that around and make 10 other things out of it. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And seeing that, like that's the awesome part, Yeah.
Mad. And what do you think your biggest achievement so far is, like as a musician? What are you really proud of?
I guess these days I'm proud of the fact that I'm doing it without a net. So I don't have a day job. I don't have you know, mountains and mountains of gear that I haven't paid for yet, and I don't know, I'm just doing it and I'm surviving, and you know, every day I sort of you know, there are challenges, but I sort of wake up happy. I wake up happy and I go to bed happy, thinking, you know what, I'm not building someone else's empire here, I'm kind of trying to build my own. It might be a little empire, but I can say it's mine and no one else's, you know.
Sweet. And what are your current thoughts on the state of today's Australian music scene?
I don't know, it's tough because I've never felt like part of it, to be honest. Like making the kind of music I make, I've always felt like I'm on the fringe, and it's not something I resent, but I kind of feel a disconnect from it. I think when you watch what's big on the arias and you know and the people that sort of get the kudos in the industry, you know, I see a different industry to what I feel like I'm working in. Like even people that other guitarists or people playing in metal bands that I've, you know, worked with here and there and stuff like that, you know, watching the crowds dwindling a little bit. It sort of bothers me that the music's not really a pastime to go and see music anymore, you know what I mean? So.